The West is on fire, and I'm trying to figure out what's causing it to burn. So today, we're going to go see a fire that's nearby my house here in Mira Mesa. This is in Southern California. For you guys that don't know, we're basically right smack dab in the middle of San Diego. If you guys can see, it's a little smoky and hazy today, which unfortunately isn't out of the ordinary. It's definitely been getting worse, I would say. So today we're gonna go drive over to the Sorrento fire. This is the second fire that's actually happened in this nature preserve. It's called the Los Penasquitos Nature Preserve. And they're saying that this one is caused due to arson, but we don't know that for sure. We're going to find out today what's causing Southern California. I mean, really, it's the entire West to burn. So we're going to go over, we're going to get some shots of the Sorrento fire, and we're going to discuss some of the things that are contributing to the West being on fire. So it seemed like every fall our wildfire season would be getting really bad, and now it seems like every summer into fall the wildfires are just out of control around here. I'm gonna be taking this FJ Cruiser over to the Sorrento fire. This is the second Sorrento fire in like 2 months. And we're gonna go check it out. Let's go see. So I've heard a lot of things, people saying different things about what's potentially causing this wildfire epidemic. And I really want to get down to the root cause of it. So today we're gonna be heading over to a safe location to look at the Sorrento fire. It's definitely no secret that we've been having a drought here in the Western United States. And that's definitely a huge contributor. I just wanted to get a shot and show you guys what Southern California and a lot of the West looks like right now. Here we are at the Los Penasquitos Canyon Preserve. And you guys can see that the trails are closed and it is pretty hot out here today. Just wanted to show you guys what this brush is looking like right now. And you can just see how dry everything is. And if we look at these hills, we can see it just looks so poised to burn. And it's really unfortunate. Here in Southern California, coming to the park is probably one of the few places that you're gonna find green grass. And this isn't too far from the last area that we took the shot. These purple signs are pretty much everywhere that you go. Anywhere you see any sort of irrigation, you're gonna see this purple sign most of the time. It's really crazy how scarce this resource is. I mean, this was in someone's toilet or it's gone down someone's shower drain and it's treated and we're just using it to water the grass. One of my buddies works at a works for the water district, up in North San Diego County, and says this water is safe and you could probably drink it. Better get out of the way so it doesn't squirt me. The scarcity of water has to be one of Southern California's biggest problems. Look at that. Everything's dead. These trees are so dry. The vegetation it's crazy. And this park, I mean, even some spots don't have water. The field's currently closed and Looks like they're trying to bring it back. Such a scarce resource. Over here in this area, there's a seasonal creek. And we can just see how dry the seasonal creek is. Dead, bush, lots of fuel, you know. If there was some sort of fire, it would get out of control pretty quickly, and it's definitely pretty scary. If you look real closely, there is a little bit of water in this creek, but it's not flowing very much. I'm surprised to see it flowing at all. I think it's no question that severe drought has been the contributing factor to the most severe fire season I think ever recorded in the West. My question though, why is there this drought in the first place? It seems for most of my adult life, we've been in a drought. Especially living here in Southern California, there's been no water at all. It's always been a scarce resource. This park that we're visiting today, the Los Penasquitos Canyon Preserve, is huge. It spans pretty much the whole center of San Diego, and actually it has one of the most beautiful waterfalls, and you wouldn't think that that would be there here in the middle of such a dry place. Something I was just thinking about, it hasn't rained here in probably 5 months. I might be exaggerating that, but you know, we're midway through August, and I feel like I haven't seen rain in a really, really, really long time. And even before then, rain has just been few and far in between. I pulled over on the side of this little viewpoint here on Calle Cristobal. This is on the south side of the Los Penasquitos Preserve. And you guys can see there's that main trail that runs along the creek. And there's actually someone riding their bike down there right now, which is strange because the trails are closed. I don't think they're supposed to be down there. But it looks like we have to keep going a little further to get a view of this burn scar and see this fire. Here's a little turnout we decided to pull off in. So it looks like forward progression has stopped on this fire, and you can see some of the burn scar right over here, and all of the fire retardant, and it looks like the firefighters are still down there doing a fantastic job. And it's unfortunate. You can just see how much fuel is in this canyon, and it's one of the most beautiful places in San Diego. It really is. And it's just so unfortunate how there's just no water to keep any of this under control. Now, don't get me wrong, you guys. I love this car. But a lot of people say that these emissions coming out of this pipe are what's causing this dry climate. The smell of ash is still really thick in the air. And brought you guys over to another spot where I can show you the fire retardant drops and get a better picture of the burn scar. So as you guys can see, we got a fire retardant drop, probably from a really large aircraft, and it just smells like it almost smells like coolant. You can see there's a few other people that are viewing this area, and they got retardant on this house over here. And I'll show you guys how big this fire really is. You can just see how firefighters were trying to contain this just to the valley. You can still see some fire trucks down there. Probably investigating the cause. Super sad, honestly. But you guys can just see how dry it is. I mean, when I look around, all of this stuff is watered and maintained, and even it is dry. A lot of this shrub and, you know, stuff that's ready to burn. It's crazy.
Stay safe.
Now, when I started filming today, I had no intention of making this any sort of political video. More so just a video to raise awareness and kind of show everyone what the facts are. I was always raised, I guess, you know, being told global warming isn't true, and I guess I'm starting to change my opinion. Like, you know, it's pretty rooted in fact here. I mean, we can see over the last 30 to 40 years just how much everything has changed. Sea levels are rising, and the, you know, I guess just overall dryness are probably things to be concerned about. And I've always considered myself more politically neutral and, you know, just open to the best ideas. You know, later in life, especially over the last few years, definitely just more so open-minded, I should say. Because considering myself, you know, tied to a party, I think is stupid. And I think just being rooted in a good idea is much better. But I definitely want this to stop. These are people's homes, you know, all up here on the ridge. And, you know, their entire lives are right there, and the fire is just, you know, got fire retardant getting dropped on their backyards, their pools, their cars, you know. Everything these firefighters can do to keep the fire from creeping up this way. I'm not sure why this little trail is dug out right here. Kind of a cool spot to sit and overlook the valley. You can see there's some green moisture kind of down here along where the creek runs. in that containment line going up the embankment on the side. Yeah, I really want it to stop, guys. And I don't think we should be ignoring it anymore. I actually left that area just because the ash and smoke was getting to my throat. Kind of just smelled like charred, burnt ash, and fire retardant kind of smells like coolant. I don't know if that's a good description of it, but that's what it reminds me of, is like just a coolant kind of smell. And I thought I'd come over here to this park that's not too far away and kind of show you guys just kind of the surrounding area and the difference between, you know, an area that gets watered and an area that doesn't. And you can see really clearly the, you know, stark contrast between, you know, what gets watered and what doesn't. Some would say that the earth is just going through a cycle, and there may be some merit to that. I'm not 100% against the idea that some, you know, sometimes it rains a lot, and sometimes it, you know, the earth goes through some sort of drought, some sort of cycle. And maybe we're going through one of those right now. It could be perhaps a combination of global warming with, you know, the earth perhaps going through some sort of cycle. I mean, here in California, a lot of people drive EVs. I normally daily drive an EV, and I think that they're really good, honestly, for the average person. Pretty much everywhere you look here, you know, you'll see a Tesla or, you know, some sort of electric vehicle. I think gas cars definitely have a lot of, you know, good purpose, and, you know, a lot of people still have a good use for a gas car. And I don't know if, you know, electric cars should be mandated like California wants them to be. And maybe you guys have an opinion, and if you want to share it in the comments, and maybe just share your take on it. But I think this is probably one of the biggest problems that we're gonna have to face at some point. And we're here to find the answers, you know, what gets these fires out of control and what we can do to stop it. For the longest time, it seems California's solution to this climate change problem, the, I guess, wildfires and water shortage, has been just to raise fuel prices. But if you look at the cars on the road, you know, maybe a quarter of them are electric. Most of them still use gas. And I think I know the reason why. I'm back at the house because I wanted to show you guys my garage. And not everybody is fortunate enough to have this in their garage, but, you know, I'm lucky enough. I have a EV charger, and like I said, I daily drive an EV. It's actually in the shop right now. But that's a fantastic car. It's a fantastic way to go. And I totally understand why it might not work for everybody, because not everybody has access to that at home. The other tremendous barrier is where I live is ridiculously expensive, and contributes a lot to an affordability crisis, which might be better saved for another video. But I wanted to walk out here and show you guys something else that not everybody has access to, which is a zero emission way to produce energy. Here at these apartments, they have 300 kilowatts of solar that you know, make it possible for me to be able to afford an EV and drive an EV. But a lot of people still, even in these apartments, don't get that luxury. It seems like for the longest time, California's solution to this climate problem has been just to raise fuel prices and, you know, try to get people to make wiser choices with what cars they drive and drive less. I think for the person that has a little bit more money, the EV is a fantastic solution to the pollution and climate problem that we, you know, are likely facing. But I feel like for the average person that, you know, is already squeezed as it is, you know, making them pay for high fuel costs and high housing contributes to a whole nother problem that I'll definitely need to do another video on. Here's another view of these solar panels. 300 kilowatts is pretty crazy. And on the roof too of all 4 of those buildings up there. Another huge factor of why these fires are starting has to be due to people just not being able to afford these apartments. I mean, a 1-bedroom apartment here in San Diego is gonna cost you like $3 grand a month. It's crazy. And if you don't know somebody to get like a special deal or have a partner that you could split the rent with, I mean, the average job probably isn't gonna float you here. It really has to be something special for you to be able to get by on your own. And while I know there's a lot of contributing factors to these homeless problems and affordability epidemics, I'm not sure if California is going about it the right way. I think a lot of what's causing these fires are encampments kind of like that one and this one over here that are in the hills. You can kind of see where people have been living up here. And these encampments that are here in the hills are, you know, a big reason of why these fires start. And it's probably not necessarily people like this's fault. And really, these are just a couple examples of encampments that are, you know, up in the hills here. And really, you know, it's not encampments like this next to the freeway that are causing these fires, but there's a lot of encampments that are, you know, out in areas that are much more rural, and, you know, you're not gonna just walk by and see these encampments. But, you know, I said, can you blame them? I mean, because rent is $3,000 close to work, and work isn't enough to cover rent. And, you know, it's really easy to end up on a slippery slope here. And, you know, I mean, you get cold and you start like a little campfire and it gets out of control. Or you gotta cook and, you know, look at all of this. It's just like, you know, bound to burn. And it's really unfortunate that people are living in the hills here. So I think for that reason, affordable housing, not luxury housing, but affordable housing would be a huge game changer here in Southern California. And I don't have all the answers for that, but I think that's definitely a contributing factor to our fire problem. This is one of the local lakes that my girlfriend and I come to pretty frequently. And you hear about it all over Southern California. People saying, you know, that there's no water left, and, you know, here is a perfect little shot of our local boat ramp. And maybe just like, you know, somewhat recently, actually, like I'd say within the last few months they've been taking water from this reservoir. And this is the end of the boat ramp right here, so you know, you can see the docks high and dry. Real steep ramp, actually. All over the south, southwest, and really, I guess the west in general. You know, the Colorado River system we're really dependent on. And our reservoirs are dry around here in San Diego. San Vicente is the lowest I've ever seen it since they raised the dam, and this reservoir is starting to get low too. You can't even launch a boat here anymore. And that's really concerning. You know, Lake Powell, Lake Mead are empty, and you know, our reservoirs here are going dry too. So I think I should probably do a video on what happens when we run out of water here, and probably start thinking about a plan to get some water in these reservoirs if it's not going to rain and if the hills are just going to burn. That's going to be all for today's video, guys. If you liked it, I'd invite you to subscribe to my channel and, you know, join me for the next video. If you guys stuck around this long, give it a thumbs up, and see you on the next one. I'd really appreciate you guys leaving some comments and chiming into some of these serious issues that we have here. And, you know, maybe if we all put our heads together, we can come up with a solution to a lot of these huge problems. But I think what's going on is we're just waiting around for someone else to do it. And I think we're all gonna have to work together to figure it out.